Welcome in, everyone, to the Creed of Crypto podcast, where we provide immersive, essential, and evergreen strategies for the novice cryptocurrency investor. How you doing? I am one half of your host, Broke Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, Crypto Ewok. We have a ton to get into tonight. The markets have continued to look pretty saucy, especially one token. Well, not just one. We're going to get to a few that are tonight. But as you can see by the thumbnail, HEX obviously taking off. The train has left the station. So all aboard. We're going to get to that here in a moment. Bitcoin kind of still doing its thing at right around 23K. We got a lot to get to tonight, including also what are going to be some of the main trends of the next bull run. What do we need to look out for? Is it AI? Is it DeFi? Is it something else? We're going to see tonight. But first, let's welcome in my friend and co-host, Crypto Ewok. Ewok, how you feeling tonight?
Feeling good, man. Love the green candles. It brightens everybody's day, puts everyone in a good mood. People aren't fighting anymore, So
right.
It's been a nice little change of pace. So
it's funny how price will do that. Yeah, just a quick turnaround of things. I saw Trevon actually earlier already wrote one of these. So I guess Twitter was down earlier tonight, which, if you're a male between 18 and 50, that ruined your entire life apparently. But it was down earlier tonight, and I think it was partially because they were implementing this new, I don't even know what the hell it's called, but some kind of 40,000 or 4,000 character journal type thing you can write now, instead of all these dumb influencers doing these 200 tweet threads about here's how you lose weight, and then it's it ends in a sales funnel to their product. Now basically you have a 4,000 word journal you can do. But Trevon, I saw, did one earlier with some good thoughts on what's going on with HEX and stuff right now, which I really thought was cool. But yeah, that is a new update I just saw on the tweet machine.
So do you have to be a blue check mark for that?
I don't know. I'm still not going to pay up for it because I'm broke.
No, yeah, I bet you do. I bet it's one of the privileges you get with having that blue check mark, and otherwise you just get your regular 200, whatever it is, however many characters. I don't even remember how many you get on a normal tweet, but whatever it is.
240, I think. Yeah.
240. Yeah.
So you hear that, spammer life coaches out there, you're going to have to pony up for the $8 to shill your made up product. So look out for that. So, but an interesting update nonetheless. But to let y'all know who we are, I'm Broke Boi Crypto. I have a YouTube channel that is dedicated to building wealth through crypto and a minimalist mindset in your life and in investing. So check out the channel. Broke Boi Crypto on YouTube and Twitter. Ewok, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm Crypto Ewok on Twitter, Crypto Ewok 5555 on YouTube. So I'm just here with Broke Boi doing the Creed of Crypto podcast every Wednesday night. Subscribe, tick the bell. Don't miss out on all our wonderful content. Stuff you don't get anywhere else.
That's right. We are here every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A little bit early tonight because I got some personal biz tomorrow morning I got to attend to, but we're going to be here till about 9 p.m. Eastern. So let's get into the market. So Bitcoin is still, bullishly. I don't think anybody really knows right now, but right now it is still kind of hanging right at that 23K mark as we start the show tonight. Bitcoin is just under 23K. ETH is at 1650. HEX, which we're going to get into in a lot of detail later on, sits at 5.2 cents, but it has been, ranging anywhere between, I don't even remember, 4.5 cents, maybe really, really early this morning, and then getting stopped out at about 5.5 cents. We have a lot to talk about in terms of that. But in short, if you were capitulating at the bottom and reading about the SEC and freaking out and only wanted to buy at 1 cent, you're probably pretty upset right now. So that's why you DCA. But we're going to get into that as well. But Ewok, I will ask you this first. Seeing further consolidation of the Bitcoin price over the last couple of weeks here. So we've pretty much been sticking right to that, the low 22s to right between 22.5 to 23.5. And a lot of consolidating here. Many people were starting to turn bullish over the last couple of weeks. I think that sentiment is still there. I think we're getting kind of split now as to, which is still remarkable to me that it's even this much, but still kind of split between whether the bear market lows are in or not, or whether we are now in a bull market. I personally will just say that the extra consolidation here and the fact that we haven't maybe broken 24 or 25 yet is, I don't want to use the word concerning, but making me think that we won't get as sharp of a move up if and when one does happen. And I'm open, of course, to the idea of it going down a little bit, but I'm not really, I don't know. I don't really know that I expect anything super sharp in the short term in either direction. So where are your thoughts right now on the lows being in? We had a conversation about this earlier this week. You've been steadfast on that they are not in up until this last week's podcast. What do you think? What do you think about where we are right now and where we're headed?
Well, I'm seeing a little head and shoulders here probably forming. If it pulls back down into this range and then forms another one, am I sharing my screen?
Yeah, it's there.
So, I mean, I heard earlier today someone said it looked like a BART pattern, which, usually indicates it goes up and it chops and then it comes back down. But if it takes another bump, then you've got a head and shoulders pattern, and it could drop back down. And that could all play out, into probably in around here. So late February. Well, I think we'll have to see what happens. I still don't know that the bottom is in. I'm not gonna commit to it. Like I said, until we get through some of these 25-3, maybe this level is super important. If it could chop around in this area for a little bit too, and then fall back down. This pattern to me just does not look normal. Like any other time it rides up, you see it goes up and then you have a couple candles. These are so evenly spaced that you could tell that there was definite manipulation going on here. So I don't think this is natural, hence why when it got here, it kind of chopped. It made a little bump up, and then it's still chopping again. I could see it come back down into these levels and play around a little bit. Now, was 15, whatever it was, 400 something our bottom? We'll see. I bet we could tap it, though. I bet it could tap. If that supports it again, then we made a double bottom, just like we made the double top back in November. What it was from April till November that we did a double top. So this could take a little bit of time to play out, but I kind of see this little head and shoulders here starting to form, and if that's the case, usually those are kind of bearish, especially after a run up like that. It could come right back down into these levels. So that's kind of what I'm sticking with for now, and we'll see how that plays out. Again, if it breaks through this 25 and keeps going, then I'll confess that I was probably wrong on the bottom being in. But until we break out of some of these levels one way or another, I don't think we're really going to know for sure.
I am totally with you there. Yeah, that 25.5 range or so, I think most people agree. If we would blast through that, I think you'd have to be pretty confident in saying that the lows would be in. But in terms of that big move up that we did get there, I guess that was like the last or mid-January or whatever. It all kind of a blur at this point. But that big run up, I mean, it's the amount of the move is pretty much, I mean, regardless of how we believe it happened, it's pretty much equal to that SBF, FTX, massive multi-week red candle situation there. Or this is the daily, right? Yeah. Back in November. So, I mean, it's about a correction from that. And then you just have the, Ned Flanders shoe pattern, I guess, here.
Well, the one down, though, was two candles, right? So you had two candles November 8th and 9th. These were much more spread out, much more even, and they just look almost too perfect. It's just, they don't look right. Any other run up that you see, you almost always see, let's go to another one. They're always choppy. You get one up and then you get a couple small ones mixed in there, and it really didn't happen that way this time. So it just doesn't look natural. These all look pretty even, like there was about the same amount going into each day after day after day, pumping the price. So either there was wash trading going on, or there was somebody just adding a ton of liquidity, trying to start a rally or prepare for maybe some exit liquidity, because you have big whales that'll do that sometimes. They will, buy it up, and hope the rest of the market kind of FOMOs, chases it, and gives them a higher exit liquidity opportunity to get out. Again, we'll just have to kind of wait and see how these couple levels here play out until I concede that I think the bottom was in. But again, I'm only one person and I'm not a financial advisor, but just my take on it anyway.
Well, yeah, I differ from the opinion. I mean, yeah, I definitely could see us getting some more price action down. I don't know. I mean, I got to admit, I would be somewhat surprised if we went below 20K again. I really would. And I really think that if we even get down towards 20K again, or I'll tell you this, if we lose 20K, people are going to be absolutely panicking. I mean, it's going to be like return to, I mean, it's already there. I can already see it from people. And, I was reading about this earlier today, and I totally agree with it. It's like at any given time, we've talked about this, Ewok, like curate your feed. We're all like this, and because of all these stupid social media apps and stuff, you can curate your feed to believe anything you want to. If you've been reading like Capo and Profit Blue and stuff like that for the last few months, we're definitely still going to 10, 12K or something.
Yeah.
Or if you were looking at, I'm trying to think of other popular accounts like Income Sharks, who's a trader. Last year when everything was bearish as hell and pretty much everybody could see it, he was saying that this big like election midterm rally was going to happen or something. I mean, you can just, you can point yourself in any direction you want to. That's why I like to focus on the most real people possible, not just in terms of like other people I follow, but also just like, what does the chart say? And yeah, I'm with you. We don't know anything. You never know anything definitive, but even more so right now, I think there's, reason to doubt anything sharp on either side at the moment. But we have seen the reversal of a couple of long-term trends to heavily lend to the idea that the lows could be in. And for the long-term investor who's less concerned with stuff like this, because even though this is a volatile asset, if you're here for a while and you're holding, more so alts and Ethereum and stuff like that, you're not concerned with just Bitcoin. But you want to know where it's going to go for that short-term volatility. Bottom line, right now, if you're not in the market at all, wonderful time to DCA, as I think most of this year will be, but better early than not at all. And what are you going to go down? I mean, at this point, what are you going to, what do you take like a 50% haircut on something? I mean, so many people are completely underwater from the last year and a half or so. So, yeah, I'm with you. You definitely want to optimize it, but it's all up to you. If you're somewhat in the market right now, I'd be taking nibble DCAs. If you're not at all, I'd really want to be getting in around these ranges. So not financial advice, but that's what I personally am doing. So,
yep. And the one big difference I will add too, because this question here says, if BTC movement isn't normal, what do you say about the HEX move at the same chart time range? Put HEX at 1 day and tell us what you guys think. So with HEX, we topped out in September. Bitcoin didn't top out until November. So you're looking at totally different time ranges, and you're looking at a completely different liquidity. There's buys, there's sells, there's not a whole lot of liquidity. A lot of liquidity has been pulled from HEX in order to let it run. So these things can go a lot higher and a lot faster. This looks nothing like the Bitcoin run up. You see how it's broken up with small candles. There's red candles. It's choppy. Okay. So this is a lot different when you're looking at this run up as opposed to
no, I know what you mean. The Bitcoin one, basically. Yeah, it's
they're completely different. So to answer, I just wanted to answer that question. This is more of a run up. It did have some pullbacks. It made some runs. It pulled back. The Bitcoin one didn't really do that. So to answer your question, though, that's what I was. There is a big difference. Plus, the liquidity is always a factor when it comes to HEX as well. So.
Yeah. And we're going to really get deeper into the weeds on what's been going on with HEX the last couple of days and what we do think about that, and even look at more TA with HEX. So stay tuned. We're definitely going to get back to that as well. But that's kind of our short-term outlook on BTC. As far as your timing, Ewok, about if we would go back down into some kind of range like that, the timing part of what you said, I do agree with. Like late February, sometime in March, but beyond that, I just don't think there's any way we can get anywhere near new lows post, say, March of this year. I couldn't see that time wise, but
well, if there's a later pivot, it could be. I still think, if there is a pivot, and one of the statistics is that the pivot doesn't cause the reaction until a few months later. We could see a quick one. It wouldn't take long to get down there, and then it could go right back up. So just keep that in mind.
Right. Yeah, we see moves like that all the time. So, hey, guys, if you're here, we appreciate it. Hit the like button on whatever channel you're watching. We very much appreciate it. This is a little bit of a nothing burger, as always, basically, with anything Jerome Powell is saying these days, because the market just doesn't really seem to care anymore, which is pretty cool. But for some reason, I guess he spoke yesterday. FOMC was last week. Next week on St. Valentine's Day, we have the CPI coming out. So we're going to get the new CPI numbers. Now, that will be with the new recalculated, rolling over a new year data. So either way, the long and short of that is the number is going to start to look better to the common man, even if it isn't really better. So it's really only probably going to be good for markets regardless. So keep your eyes peeled for that next week. That is going to be very interesting on the 14th. But yesterday, Powell spoke and basically just reiterated most of the points that he had said last week at FOMC. When he first started speaking, I don't know what to make of this. It really doesn't matter. But the market was pumping at first and kind of dumped a bit afterwards. Now it's just right back where it started before at around 23K. So really, who cares overall? But yeah, I'm really interested to see what will happen next week with this CPI, because again, I'm not going to pretend offhand I know the exact change of the calculation. I just know that we're basically rolling into new data. The number is going to look different. I believe it's likely to look lower, and people are going to believe that means things are better than they even really are. And that's what people trade off of. So, what do you make of that, Ewok? I mean, like, let's say, to playing devil's advocate to, your late February, early March, whenever it may be, to go lower. I mean, if we continue to see CPI numbers looking good and Powell continuing, like you said yesterday, to state that we are seeing disinflationary nature right now, we are seeing prices come down, even though it may not look like it here and there. Although right now I have a 18-pack, a carton of eggs in a virtual basket at a certain grocery store, and it's like $4. And it was like almost $7 a little bit ago. So, yeah. Jerome Powell, I appreciate it. So now that might be the bird flu, though. So I don't know. But yeah. So what do you make of that, though? If we are seeing good numbers on the CPI, I mean, I think the market could rally really hard. If those numbers are good, that's a number that they've all been so focused on looking at every single release. I don't know. If we're sitting at 23 or around here again at next Wednesday and we get a good number, man, it could be interesting if we do test that 25 range.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, I don't know. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it because we know it's manipulated heavily, and the numbers that they give us aren't usually that accurate anyway. They tell you what they want you to hear. We still know they're probably still going to raise points or raise the interest rates. I don't know that they're letting up yet. So one thing's bullish, one thing's bearish. We'll see how they kind of counteract each other. And sentiment wise, though, it could help. It could help the overall sentiment too if they give us bullish news, and everybody kind of takes it that way. And it's really going to depend when they turn the money printers back on. That's what's really going to matter. I mean, that's the bottom line. They can tell us numbers till they're blue in the face, and nothing really changes for the markets until the money printers get turned back on and they start printing more money.
That is definitely going to be when things matter most, for sure. Yeah. But it will be interesting to kind of follow this along the way. So that CPI update is next Wednesday, the 14th. I want to get in real quick, Ewok, before we get into the really interesting stuff here. you had shared with me this article earlier today about the Federal Reserve issuing new crypto banking restrictions. Did you want to get into that a little bit? Because I know you brought that up as a talking point. I know
It
you
didn't
covered
give
it a
a
little bit
whole
more.
lot of. So where was it here? I saved it. It didn't really give. It basically said there was a few banks that it says the guidelines crafted for the number of inquiries notifications regarding crypto asset related activities. I think there's like five different banks that it's really affecting. And all it said was that they're prohibited from holding digital assets. So I don't know that it's going to matter a whole lot um, as far as we're concerned right now. It just said about significant risks, which we all know stems back to FTX and some of the other bigger accounts being
Right.
compromised. So I don't know how important it is. That's why I sent it to you. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on it. But I don't see it really affecting any of us, especially DeFi. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and to that point, maybe this is an even bigger thing. And this came out. I mean, I tend to not care about this as much as the people that are reacting to it. But this actually came out just about an hour and a half ago or so. So Brian Armstrong, if you don't know who he is, CEO of Coinbase, tweeted that. And I keep this in mind before I do say this, because Coinbase, whether you like them, hate them, same with Brian Armstrong, I will say this: he does like to ensure that he is in some way working with the SEC as best as possible. So take that for what you will. You could look at that as a good thing that they're crossing all their T's and dotting all their lowercase J's. But little Wayne's World joke there if anybody remembers that. But yeah, so he basically tweeted. So, and this again, the way this whole thing starts, this to me, I don't even know what this is going to come of this. Everybody's flipping out about it. I'm just like, whatever. We're hearing rumors, okay, that the SEC would like to get rid of crypto staking in the U.S. for retail customers. I hope that's not the case, as I believe it would be a terrible path for the U.S. if that was allowed to happen. Staking is a really important innovation in crypto. It allows users to participate directly in running open crypto networks. Staking brings many positive improvements to the space, including scalability, increased security, and reduced carbon footprints. Then he links an article from Paradigm. We need to make sure that new technologies are encouraged to grow in the U.S., not stifled by the lack of clear rules. I agree with that. When it comes to financial services in Web3, it's a matter of national security that these capabilities be built out in the U.S. Regulation by enforcement doesn't work. I agree with that too. It encourages companies to operate offshore, which is what happened with FTX. Hopefully, we can work together to publish clear rules for the industry and come up with sensible solutions that protect customers, consumers, while preserving innovation and national security interest in the U.S. So I don't know how much validity there are to the rumors or whatever, but I tend to think that, what are they going to do? I mean, how are they going to regulate it? And we're not staking with Coinbase. Like, I mean, if you have a brain in your head or in crypto, we're not staking on an exchange, on a CEX. So anyway,
Nope.
What are your thoughts?
Well, a couple thoughts. Firstly, I think where this stemmed were probably Bitcoin maxis who are pushing this narrative about Ethereum, right? Because that's how
Yeah.
you essentially earn yield now, is by staking or supporting a validator. Um, there's a lot less energy spent to maintain the network. That's one bonus for sure. And then you've got, so Coinbase is one of those, they're weird. Okay. They seem to support things for the little guy, yet they are also one of the major nodes who are OFAC compliant. So they've been on that side too, where if anybody used Tornado Cash, your addresses are basically blacklisted. So they say one thing, they do another. I'm just not sure which side they're really on. So it's one of those. it's another one of those. We're going to have to wait and see who they're really fighting for. Is it themselves, because they do maintain several nodes for Ethereum themselves. They're earning their own block rewards and, paying out people that have supported their validator nodes. Or yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. It's hard to say who started this whole narrative. Was it Bitcoin who still says that proof of work is the only way, even though it's a huge waste of electricity, whether it's renewable or not, it doesn't matter. That just the amount of electricity used up on Bitcoin mining is crazy. So it's a lot less, it's a lot less restrictive to be able to stake like that. And yeah, all these DeFi platforms that you can't stop. I don't know how they're going to.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to control any, especially smart contracts like HEX. I'm sure there's other ones out there too that stake. I know there's still other smaller coins that have staking mechanism built into their QT wallets. So yeah, I think it's hopefully going to be a big nothing burger. These guys try to put laws in, and they're not, half of them aren't even educated on what true blockchain is to begin with. So you hear these things, and then it hits the vote, and then they kick it back, and several years till anything happens anyway. So
Right.
We'll have to see how it really plays out, and who gets in there and actually supports it with a voice of reason. So, supporting your local people, your congressmen and your senators, talking to them, and explaining, why these things are good, can't hurt. So if you have any kind of relationship with any of those people, talk to them, tell them your thoughts on it and why it's a good thing. I know the central banks don't like people being able to stake and earn their own rewards. Kind of takes away from their business model of wanting to be the only ones that can print money. But unfortunately, times are changing. So that's where we're at.
I agree with you 100%, Ewok, on the motivation for Brian Armstrong. It's like, I don't, who knows what's actually happening behind the scenes? Who know, he tends to be the guy that acts as if he's on the side of the little guy, but is he really? And it kind of like I said at the introduction of that whole thing, is it's like Coinbase does like to make sure that they're good with the SEC and stuff, and you can look at that in whatever way you want. But like you said, I mean, none of us, or you shouldn't be, if you're watching this show anyway, should be earning yield on centralized exchanges. I mean, that's not really anything we're focused on. And I agree with you. What are they going to do about all these DeFi protocols? Like, there are countless different, dApps on these different layer ones and layer twos and all these platforms that you can earn yield on. I mean, like, there's so many things you can do with DeFi. How in the hell are they going to, what are they going to do? I mean, like, I just don't know. I mean, maybe I'm overcomplicating it. It's not really something that the consumer and the person earning the yield will be responsible for themselves. I mean, clearly it's going to have to be these protocols. But what do they do? It's just,
well, the one thing they could do
how do
is
you put that genie back in the bottle?
Yeah, but I mean, they could start blacklisting addresses that use them. So, if they want to do something like that, then that would affect your on and off ramps for sure. But other than that, they couldn't really stop the protocol itself. So, I mean, I think if they were going to do anything, that's where it would come down to your ability to on and off ramp into fiat.
Yeah. Well, it's something to watch for. Yeah, we'll see what we're hearing about that. But again, like you said, too, Ewok, that's like a 3-year thing. I mean, we have no idea when that'll take place. So there's no reason to anybody that's reading that Brian Armstrong thread and, more signs of the bear market, we're going lower, see, and oh my God, you mentioned this to me earlier today, Ewok, and I saw it the other day too. The Super Bowl bans crypto commercials, which if you actually read the article by a watch guru, that wasn't even actually true. But just it's like everybody is looking for, like, I've been saying this for weeks, like that next big thing that's going to bring us down. Like, oh, what happened to Grayscale? Nobody even gives a shit about it anymore. It's not even talked about, whatever. But, I'm not saying
forget
there's
about
not
it till
fear.
they don't.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying there's not things to worry about here and there in the market, but, if anything, for me, we need to be rewiring our brain and look at this the other way. Like, okay, people's publishing articles that the Super Bowl is banning crypto commercials 1 calendar year after it was the rage of the Super Bowl, all these crypto commercials. Like, hey, sentiment bottom, we should be buying right now.
So you said that wasn't
that's how I
true?
look at it. No, they're not. I don't believe they're actually banned. I actually read the article. It was just, it basically just was that all it was that they were like hesitant to or didn't want to air anything because of some of the recent events. Like there was no,
Right.
The word banned is just like a clickbaity, I mean, hey,
I guess.
we're all in it for the clicks, but it just was a clickbaity way of saying it, I believe.
Well, I heard 2 exchanges. I'm guessing Crypto.com and Coinbase probably had commercials made, but they're not going to air them. So that was the last that I had heard regarding that. Yeah, there were two companies that had commercials prepared, but they're not going to get aired now. And I guessed Coinbase and Crypto.com just because they're the 2 big ones that are left. I don't see CZ doing anything with Binance, but who knows? I could be wrong.
FTX kind of isn't part of the equation, I guess. So can't be FTX.
Wasn't FTX.
So yeah, I guess so.
Unless it's Sam broadcasting from his parents' basement with his ankle bracelet.
Or what about Sam's business partner? They're redoing it. It's what, GTX now or something like that. So yeah, that dude he was partnered with or whatever, they're just going to start it right back up. So hey, I see no issues with that. No, interesting. Okay. Well, either way, go Chiefs. That's the side. How about you, Ewok? What are you thinking? Chiefs, Eagles?
Well, everybody likes the Eagles, so I'm going to be the contrarian on this one and go Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will pull it out.
There you go. I've always had a weird dislike of the Philadelphia Eagles, so
me too.
I'll go with the Chiefs here. Yeah,
being a Steeler fan, we're not too keen on the Philadelphia sports team.
Yeah, for you, yeah. So I want to ask you this. So this is something I'm really interested in right now. So it's something that I'm looking at. So right now, I already said it on the show. This is like a prime time that if you are getting into the market or trying to find little new projects or what's going to be the next big thing in the bull run, what is it? And I think it's a good key to look at right now when you're investing in the market before the rest of retail has arrived, before things get crazy again, like a year from now, looking for where the big money is going. And one thing I've been looking at recently is Pantera Capital, which manages all kinds of different crypto things. And generally has their ear to the ground. And I trust a lot of the things that they do and say. One token they've been really high on is Injective Protocol, which is something I've actually been looking a lot at this week, as well as some of the other things that they're looking at. But what do you make, Ewok, about, to ask this question in a more broader term, like what would you be looking for? Obviously, I know you're all in on HEX, and don't worry, everybody, that's what we're going to get to here next. But, in your years past, when you were looking for HEX, the next, you didn't know HEX was not a glimmer in your eye yet or something like that. What were some of the things you would look at this point of the market? So right now, a lot of people equate 2023 with 2019, where things are mainly going to be dead. And I know HEX was already on the horizon, kind of, and you probably were aware of Richard Hart. But what should be some things people are looking at when trying to invest in certain tokens right now in crypto? Because to me, right now, a big thing should be, and I'm not talking about like gigantic VC funded stuff only. I'm not saying that should be your only parameter, but I think it's an interesting concept to follow the money as far as some of these big funds right now. I'm not invested in Aptos, that layer one that has tons and tons of money behind it. It just kind of feels really Solana-y to me. But I think it's good to look at that, look at communities, which is obviously huge with crypto, HEX being the biggest and best one, pretty much undoubtedly. I think those things are important as well as innovation. But I mean, like, what would you be looking for right now if you were a newer investor and wanted to try to find some things to give you some good gains, not just this year, but holding something from this year through 2025?
I'm really not looking. I found
Well,
what
I know
I
you're
want,
not.
but
I know.
to answer your question, I'll tell you what I wouldn't be looking for. Anything with any kind of centralized ownership or control, or anything platform based where, that website can turn off and everything's gone. Things like that
Mhm.
you really just want to stay away from. If you say follow the money, well, shit, look at FTX. How much money was followed if you followed the money into that one? So, I mean,
Well,
that may
that's
not,
an exchange. Yeah. I don't mean
well, but
something like
still,
that, but
I know, but there was a lot of money. And so if you say follow the money, and you're going to do okay, that probably wouldn't have been a good decision. So it's not always about following the money. It's
well, that's
about,
why I followed it up with two other points too. I didn't say just
right,
follow the money.
right. But,
Yeah.
you want to make sure that I still think DeFi this time around is going to still rule. I
Hmm.
think there's going to be some pretty cool AI technology that kind of goes into place with DeFi. I think that could be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
GameFi, if anything, that goes in. Again, I still think it's going to be DeFi rooted, no matter
Yes.
what kind of technology is on top of it, provided that it's, true DeFi, no admin keys. That's one of the big things that you just really got to look for: safe, no admin keys, immutable contracts. Um, and again, that's why I'm really just not looking, because I found the golden goose. And I don't know. I don't want to invest money. We got Pulse Chain coming up. There's going to be a lot of cool things that come out on Pulse Chain, a lot of protocols that are also going to be no admin keys, trustless yield lending platforms where, um, it's all controlled by the contract. So there's going to be enough cool things for us, I think, to play with, where we don't really have to venture out and take too many risks. Protect
Right.
what we have, protect what we've built in this bear market, and kind of go from there on the new protocol, which will be Pulse Chain. So hopefully that comes out pretty soon. We'll see.
Let me twist your arm a little bit more. I want to talk about generally in the broad scope of crypto. We're going to have this conversation a little bit later, but it makes sense to mix it in now. So you mentioned AI, and everybody's talking about it right now. Obviously, it's the hot new thing. I mean, Chat GPT and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
as far as actually in crypto and these AI tokens, which I was never aware of Fetch. It's FET ticker, and it's been pumping like hell. If anybody follows crypto at all, you've probably been seeing it here the last few days. But I think it's either on its second cycle, or at least it's been around for a little bit. It wasn't just created, but you're getting all these AI tokens created out of the blue. Obviously, the last couple of weeks that are gonna hurt you, obviously, but I guess for me, maybe this is too big of a question, but I mean, I would like to know what ideas within the crypto space, or why a token would be needed for certain AI things, like what actually would be happening. And maybe I just need to do my own research a little bit more on something like this Fetch. And I think there's a couple of other notable ones out there, but I don't know. I mean, like the fact that people are already talking about it so much right now in 2023, and we're not even well into the bull market or anything yet. I mean, will that be the narrative? I mean, I don't know, because I tend to be with you, and maybe we keep saying it because that's what we know and we saw it the last cycle. But to me, like just an epic growth of DeFi makes the most sense to me as like the major theme. I mean, maybe that's like the roots of the tree, and then this other stuff like AI and maybe something else that we don't even know yet as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But what do you
Yeah. I
think?
don't know how they're going to tie in. I don't know how they'll tie AI into DeFi. I don't know. I'm just saying those are some of the things maybe you should kind of keep an eye out for. Again, I don't know how they'll tie it in. If it's just another duct tape token, then it's probably not worth investing in. You've got to see some sort of use case, or some sort of contract where it's going to do something to promote some sort of use or value, give it some sort of value. Like I said, a duct tape token isn't going to do anybody any good. Not saying it won't run up, not saying, you won't make some gains on it. Um, but in order to sustain, more than one cycle, it really needs to have something like that with it. So
Yeah. I think even the bigger theme could be making DeFi even easier for more common people to use because, each bull market, obviously, we are getting bigger, we're getting more participants into the market every single cycle as adoption continues. And, for the average person who is kind of interested whenever Bitcoin's at 100K again or something like that, it's hard to use some of these DeFi protocols. So maybe something making that even more simple for them. It's just we sometimes forget because we do this every day that we are still kind of in the wild west out here.
Yeah.
It's becoming a little bit less wild, I think, as the years go on. As weird as that is to believe, but I do think, like you said, I do think the strengthening of DeFi and maybe even some form of regulation clarity anyway could be a couple of things that are the main catalyst for this next bull run. That's I'm pretty much with you there.
Yeah. Well, one thing that AI could do is help with education. Like you said, this is the Wild West, and sometimes we forget how much we have learned to get where we're at, right? If you want to onboard people, they've got to start somewhere. And again, we've got a couple of years ahead of them. And we forget everything that we've had to learn to get where we're at. So I think that's one possibility that AI could help with is education, onboarding, as long as it's used like that. But I don't really see the need for a token. I do see some tools that could be used for it. But, unless that token has value towards some sort of education lessons or something like that, you're using the token to spend on your education kind of thing. Who knows? Maybe that somebody can put that to use. I don't know if it's been developed or anything like that, but we do need a good, true education course for people that can make the learning at least fun and enjoyable. Because, like I said, we've all spent many, many hours reading and watching videos and learning the things that in order for us to get where we've gotten. So that could be an option. Who knows?
It's a good point. Yeah. And, it's one of those things. Some of the greatest innovations are things that we didn't even know we wanted or needed. You know what
Sure.
I mean? Sometimes people forget that. So we're going to transition into more DeFi, specifically with HEX right now. If you guys are here enjoying the stream, we appreciate if you hit the like button. Thank you very much for joining us. Leave questions or comments in the chat. We've got an epic pump from HEX happening over last weekend, continuing into this week. I believe it hit the local top at some point earlier today at about 5.6 cents as far as what I was able to see. It has been going crazy. And a lot of events, if you kind of line them up, are starting to kind of make sense here. I'll just say this. Part of what Trevon said earlier, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Ewok, was that a lot of the outrage marketing stuff, whatever you want to call it, that Richard was doing throughout 2022 as, the HEX, and let's not be unfair to HEX, the price of everything totally plummeted.
Right.
Trevon was basically saying that in part could be to shake out some of the, I don't know, this might be too tinfoil hat, but like shake out some of the weaker hands in HEX.
Yeah.
Say again.
No, go ahead. Weekends. I just echoed your sentiment.
So yeah, and the fact that it's went down to 1.7 cents and stuff like that, SEC talk, all this bearish stuff, and everybody, this is what you got to do. You have to buy into the fear. And I will victory lap right now that I put in tons of buy orders all around. I bought 1.8 cents, 1.9 cents, 2. I bought so much in that range. And it was over Christmas. It was easy to do. Everybody had the opportunity. It was over the week of Christmas. I mean, you were sitting there doing nothing, stuffing your face, and not going on Uniswap. So I don't know what to tell you if you missed out on it, but you missed it. The train has left the station, and I've gotten a 2x off all those buys and more. So, what do you think about that? I mean, like, I tend to not, I don't know. I think Richard did that stuff to help make HEX go viral eventually, really. I think that's what it is. But now, mysteriously, whales come in or somebody comes in and there's all this action here. And it's like, hey, you missed it. It's gone now already. Those buys. So I don't know. What do you make of this price action? Because it's certainly been crazy. And yeah, good to see HEX do a big time pump off the lows. Now here up over 5 cents.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's been obviously pretty amazing little run up here. I hope it's not a buy a rumor, sell the news kind of thing event, pumping up into, V3 launch. V3 isn't really going to be much of anything, it's not it's not the fork. So, I do hear this. I do want to kind of cover this a little bit, maybe not right now, but people calling it a snapshot, and it's really not a snapshot. There is a difference between a fork and a snapshot, but again, this is leading up to the V3 testnet launch, and people are getting excited. They feel something in the air. All of that outrage marketing was just to get eyes on Richard, to get eyes on HEX. People that see that type of stuff aren't normal Twitter crypto people, right? They're the high end people looking for the Louis Vuitton and the Gucci and the Prada, and then he's got some car guys that are watching him buy these Ferraris and Lamborghinis and the G-Wagon, and then you got all the watch guys. So there are so many different groups of people that got eyes on this. And they're going to sit back and they're going to watch. They're going to watch things. And they were probably watching the price go down just like everything else. And they waited for something to happen. Yeah, they didn't probably buy in at that 1.7 cent range or 2.4, or some of the amazing rates that, you texted me when you were doing it. You're like, just got to buy. And
like
it
every
was
single
amazing
one.
that,
yeah,
but you hit those prices like a madman, just the way you timed it, and you got some amazing deals. I think the people that he was kind of reaching out, not to, but with his marketing tactics, they've been sitting here watching too, and now they're seeing some action, seeing some big buys come in, seeing some big sells too. Somebody just a little bit ago sold 7.4 or 7.8 million HEX. So I'm not sure if they think this runs over or what's going on, but I just find it interesting. There's people losing hundreds of thousands of dollars by selling, thinking it's going to go down. They're trying to time the market, and it goes up, and then they buy back in, and they get a worse position. So, you're going to have those traders with that trader mentality, and you're going to watch them the whole way up, and it's probably going to be funny from where they would have started if they had just let it there, and as opposed to what they're going to end up with by getting chopped up, and they keep missing that train. They're going to have to go to the next station and jump on it there. So
yeah. Well, that's the thing that I don't get is, like, if you wanted to take advantage of these recent pumps, I don't understand getting out entirely and trying to time it or anything. I do understand de-risking. And I know, like, some hexagons that are, steel 5555 100% staked. I get it. I know that's a different mindset, and they're not going to do this. But if you want to keep, there you go, Andrew, 2.45 cents. But yeah, if you want to keep some liquid, we talked about this before the show, Ewok. The point of staking is to not let your human emotions interfere and do something dumb. Well, also, I think keeping some liquid accomplishes that same thing, because now we're seeing this crazy price action, and we've heard of people emergency unstaking to sell once it got over 4 cents. It did like, and it's like, obviously that's unbelievably stupid. But like, to me, it's like, well, okay, to help assist you with those emotions, and this is why I do keep liquid HEX, I would want to keep some HEX liquid too. So if I wanted to take a little advantage of this recent price, because, this is still crypto. I mean, yeah, 38% up to 38 or 38% APY on average with HEX in HEX is great, but so is like 10,000x from the bottom. And if you want to take some advantages with that along the way, hey, there's no harm in doing that. I mean, so I think people have to, like, this, it all comes back to your personality. You have to know what you're going to be like as an investor, trader, whatever you want to call it. And that's why I think having that flexibility is really important, because you're going to see more price action like this. We already talked about where it could go in the short term if we break 5.5 cents. And I'll let you speak to that, Ewok. Yeah, how much room to run do you think we have? Like, what do you see here in the short term?
Well, short term, I think once we get past this, the 5 cent. Well, here, let's take a look. I switched it to the 10-minute chart just for shits and giggles here because people like to see these quick pumps, but we'll change it back to the daily here and take a look. There's certain levels here that once we get up into this, if we can break through this 5.5 cent range, the next level is about 6.97 cents because you got resistance here, and then over here again where it was resistance, and then it broke through, and then it became support. So there's that next level right in here, right around 7 cents. So it could shoot up once it gets done messing around in this level. There's always going to be buyers and sellers, right? But once liquidity gets eaten through whatever's happening, it can easily go. It doesn't take much to get up to that next level. And then we're sitting at 7 cents. And, those 2 point whatever cent buys, you've tripled your money. Now you're looking at a 3x. So it doesn't take long, man. It just really, we can shoot right up through there. After that, there isn't a whole lot of liquidity until 10 cents. I think it can really, it can barrel right through that 7 cent range and all the way up to 10. I think it's really going to depend on what happens with V3. Richard's been quiet this week. There were a couple Wednesdays in a row we were getting our updates, and I didn't see anything today. So I'm
he
hoping
tweeted yesterday, but it wasn't.
He did. It wasn't really an update. Wasn't really a this is where we're at with the chain sync or anything like that. So yeah, who knows? I hope they didn't find a bug. I hope it's going well and they're just getting things prepared. Based on the timing of everything, they should be almost synced up. I think one of his big concerns was would it sync from scratch? And I think that's one of the things that they were looking for it to do. Maybe it didn't. So maybe there was a bug, and hopefully, they can get it squared away, and they may have to start over. Unfortunately, syncing from nothing to make sure that it will do what it's supposed to do. So,
yeah. Well, I tell you what, as far as the technical analysis where the market seems to be now, I mean, I'm sure you're confident that the HEX bottom is actually in now. I mean, I can't really think of anything. It is so, the thing is with HEX is like, it's been so dependent on like some kind of news happening or not happening, or some kind of like massive flood scenario, or that's how it has seemed anyway. I don't really know that that's what it is, because what specifically, other than whale buyers and things like that, really got it to pump right now. You know what I mean? V3 hasn't been announced. I mean, Richard has been given some updates here and there, but it hasn't been anything. I don't know how many people. Yeah, V3 being out is definitely bullish, and people will be excited about it, and the price will continue to go up. But I mean, like you just kind of alluded to, once that has settled a little bit, I mean, Pulse Chain's still not out. So I mean, it's not something like terribly huge necessarily, and people have seen other tech nets already before. So
sure.
Well,
Johnny
I'm
Chaos
saying that it's positive, though. Go ahead.
Johnny Chaos said it well. It's all perception of value, and I think people are starting to realize that hey, this might be the run up. Let's value this stuff a little bit more. And people are getting a little bit tighter fisted and don't want to part with it quite as easy. And they are looking to buy back in and get some of those positions. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I think perception of value, understanding what they've got their hands on, and some of these new eyes coming in to play around and see what happens. Ivan on Tech, just he's the last couple of days he's been tweeting about HEX. Now I know some of these guys do it for engagement. Because they're not getting the engagement from any other community. So
exactly, right.
That the Hexicans are all you got to do is tag HEX and you get a lot of responses usually. So I do know that a lot of them will farm some engagement. But, you know, he made a comment earlier today about why is CMC gatekeeping? And I don't know if he was serious. I don't know if it was, again, engagement trolling kind of thing to just to get some posts going, you know. But, you know, it's one of those things where we've been dealing with this for how many years, you know, locked at number 201 still to this day. You've got Yahoo Finance pulling their data from CoinMarketCap, and we're ranked what, 6 or 8 on there, and,
200.
and then CoinMarketCap ranks it at 201. So,
Oh,
you know, just the manual gatekeeping um, is still there. You know, we've still got that, but that means we've got a long way to go. The walls have not come down yet. You know, that just means opportunity for growth. So,
that's
you
exactly
know,
right. Yeah.
once those walls do come down, the floodgates will open. It just hasn't happened yet. You know, I still like to look at Coin Paprika for the actual ranking, because they're one of the few sites that actually rank it properly with the coins. You know, you got Nomics, who changed their mind halfway through the last market and decided, well, we're not going to count some of these coins because we know they're the OA coins and they're just not circulating, so we're not going to count those. But so they changed the rules for HEX, but didn't say, well, you know, you've got a million of Satoshi's coins that we know aren't moving. Same scenario, but they didn't change that at all. So, you know, it's just
Right.
those type of situations that once the gates kind of open up, um, it'll be that much more opportunity to get real eyes on what Hex really is.
Yeah, and you make a great point, Ewok, and that is, yeah, when there's still people denying it and calling it a scam and blah blah blah. Like these are the things that you want to be in early. Maybe
Yep.
not necessarily every single one. You have to do your due diligence and things like that. I know many people that are into Hex are married to Hex. You know, that's just the way it is. But when people are doing that, and it checks out as far as your own research, you know, you usually are early, you know. So and we have to remember that we are still there with Hex. I want to ask you about this. And if you guys are enjoying the Hex content, please do hit the like on whichever channel you are watching. We very much appreciate it. So thank you for that. Jenkins, guy that we both follow on Twitter, who does a lot of Hex TA. I think he sometimes uploads stuff on YouTube from what I have seen, but I enjoy his tweets. I think he's a pretty thoughtful guy generally. He seems pretty diplomatic with his opinions on Hex. But he made a tweet the other day that you and I were talking about and pretty much agreed that we disagreed with. And that was that maybe he was just kind of saying this. I know he does tweet quite a bit, but that the Richard outrage marketing, since it stopped, like, have you noticed anything? The Hex price has gone up since he stopped doing that. I mean, to me, I really don't think there's any correlation there whatsoever. Like, I know
I
people
don't even.
keep trying to tie, yeah, that marketing with what's going on with the price, but I just don't. I mean, I look at cycles. I think that's really the main thing to look at. And yeah, actually, if anything, I personally, if there was a man I wanted to hang out with, I would prefer the Richard Hart from a few years ago. It was just kind of breaking things down, kind of humbly and more quietly. I think he had a lot of great, insightful stuff. Now, he still does. He just does it a lot more brashly. But I understand why. I mean, he says it dead to your face. There's not much else that you can really do that from what he's done. He just says, hey, I'm doing this because that's what people pay attention to.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the dude, you know, it's like breaking down the fourth wall. He's telling you why he's doing it, then continuing to do it. So, I mean, I get why he's doing it, or was doing it anyway. And you know, I understand it. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I want him or don't want him to do it. I get it. And if it means better for Hex in the long run and it's helping it, and helping the message get out there, then it's probably the right thing to do.
Yep. Yeah, but he said until it doesn't, he said I'll keep doing it because it works the best. Until it doesn't work anymore, then I'll stop and I'll pivot to something else. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I know, you know, the biggest thing I think people have a problem with are the people that sacrificed, and they think that he's out spending their funds,
Mm.
and that's truly just not the case. You know, dude has, we're pretty sure that he has more Bitcoin than Michael Saylor by chain analysis. And if he really did sell the top when he called the top back in April, he's got quite a bit of money. So he's not selling, or he's not spending your sacrifice money. That money in those wallets has not moved. So I think that was the original reason people were upset. And the fudsters come out of the woodwork too and say, "Oh, Richard's out spending your money. You got scammed. It's never going to release." And enough of that stuff propagates through people, and the parrots keep saying it. It in order to talk them off the ledge and say, "That's not what's happening, guys. That's really not." He's explained what he's doing, why he's doing it. Like it or not, he's going to keep doing it. And it may be not something that you tell your investors to go look at. Don't go watch him leaving a Louis Vuitton store with all these bags, dressed like a clown, because he's doing it for show. You don't show that to your onboards. You show them Crypto Coffee and Hodl Dog and Dollar Cost Crypto and those guys that are putting out content all the time. Hexologist is another one. He does it more for fun, but it's those type of people that make the community. Richard's just trying to get eyes on it. That's all. So,
well, I don't know. I mean, hey, it seems like it's working for Sam Smith. Like at the Grammys the other night, like with the stuff that he. I mean, if you're Richard, why not go even further with this whole thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, red lights and worshiping. It is a cult. Don't forget, we are a cult. We've got to have a couple of those.
Yeah. Eyes wide shut. The Grammys kind of synonymous there, but you should just go full cult status and maybe a little androgyny into the wardrobe for Richard Hart. I think would be really interesting. So so we'll have to see if he can get some tips from Sam Smith, I guess. But this has been a good one, Ewok. I think we pretty much covered it. I mean, I hope we do get the continued pump, obviously, on HEX. It would be nice. It does seem like greener pastures are ahead. Look, for as much as we all kind of went through, as long as you stuck it out and did not capitulate throughout 2022 in the bear market, it was a rough one, and we are still here. And the main theme that we've had on this show for the 5 weeks that we've been in 2023 is that, again, the good times are ahead. They are coming, and there's going to be a bumpy year. I mean, there's going to be some bumps in the road for sure. But, just remember, if you are somebody who's invested in HEX or some of these other different popular tokens that have done, bounced off the lows to do a 2x now, this is why you buy into the fear. Nobody said it was going to be easy, and it's not easy. You have to feel, if you feel scared to click buy, you should probably click buy, unless that money is money that you need this month. I think that's generally, and eventually, a great thing I heard somebody say the other day, maybe this has been said many times and I'm just naive that I've never heard it before. But when you're looking at some of these charts, like doing TA or whatever, just change the green and red colors around. Just change, to when there's big down days, you see green color. Okay, I got to buy, just to rewire your brain. I don't know if I could actually do that. It would mess with me too much, but just to make yourself look at it like it makes you look at it more black and white, even though we're still talking about colors. It'll make you look at it a little bit more like, okay, well, whenever things are green, that means I should be excited and I buy, but people, you get that lookout below syndrome. You just get too afraid, so whatever little trick you need to do. But if you are somebody invested in HEX and you miss those bottoms, just let it be a lesson to you next time around.
I would like to answer this one.
Yeah, go ahead. For Brian.
For Mr. Garcia. So please explain how HEX isn't a pyramid scheme. So a pyramid scheme is something where they use the money of new investors to pay for the old investors. Simple as that. Pyramid schemes run out whenever there are no new investors. Okay. HEX relies on a smart contract. The inflation is derived from the smart contract. When you lock your tokens up, you're paid the inflation when your stake matures. Okay. So that doesn't have anything to do with price up, price down. Um, life is a pyramid scheme. You know, any stock, anything needs new investors for the price to go up. Same as Bitcoin. If there were no new investors, the price of Bitcoin would go down day after day after day every time that the miners sell their inflation to pay for the power that they're using to, you know, to get those new coins. So that's it's no different. Okay. Hex is not a pyramid scheme because it doesn't pay users from the money of the new investors. Okay. It's all generated through the smart contract. When you lock up your coins, uh, the Hex goes away. You're rewarded with T shares. The T shares tell you how much you're going to generate every day. And at the end of the time period that you locked it up for, your T shares go away. Your principal and your yield is all minted back to you. That doesn't say what the price of Hex will be. Okay, the price could go to zero, but the contract is still going to work the way it's intended to. So I just wanted to touch on that and explain why it's not a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, you're
Hopefully
welcome,
that.
Brian. And I just went ahead and threw in just a link from hex.com about they literally have a tab dedicated to his Hex scam with some decent reading. Let's hit up our friend Charles from last week. He just put something in the chat. Hi again from Japan. Question: are we aware of what tokens will be rewarded, or can we speculate from the PulseX single-sided staking? Do you know what he's saying there?
What tokens will be rewarded? Well, PulseX will have a single-sided staking. I think you earn either PulseX or you'll earn the incentive token. So I don't know that we know yet. It's going to be a little bit different. I know with V2B, when you staked it, I believe you earned PulseX on the single-sided staking. When you provided liquidity and did some of the farming, you were rewarded with the incentive token. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. I'm assuming it'll be very similar. PulseX hasn't really changed a whole lot as far as I know. The majority of the new work that was being done was on Pulse Chain itself. So as far as I know, PulseX will still be there. I have not played with the test net in quite a while because there was just nothing new. So hopefully.
And going back real quick to Brian's statement there about just asking about if Hex is Ponzi and stuff like that, I do think it is good. And you said it, Ewok, and a lot of people do when it comes to Hex or just anytime that, you know, people just say, you know, normies just say crypto as a whole is a Ponzi and everything. And you really are correct, Ewok, that everything is some kind of form of a Ponzi. I mean, you look at, first off, I mean, look at the gains that can be had in crypto if you educate yourself a little bit and aren't just, you know, doing what they tell you to do on Super Bowl ads or something like that. You know, compared to what you would get in the stock market, which on average for 100 years is about 8% or something. Number one, when adjusted for inflation, it's practically zero. Number two, whenever you're participating in some kind of a managed mutual fund by some kind of corporation, they're also scooping 1% to 2% expense ratio from you, which the larger your portfolio gets, the larger that money gets. I mean, it's literally useless to have some kind of a managed mutual fund. And I used to be a huge proponent of index funds when I was more of a normie too. You know, I mean, there's just classical finance is designed to keep us losers. You know, it's just the way it is. I mean, yeah, there's massive risk that you take in crypto, but you know, I hate to sound like the Matt Damon commercial, but with massive risk, there's massive reward too. So you just got to make sure you know what you're doing and educate yourself. So
yeah,
anyway,
I'll touch on this one too. So Brazology, you're kind of right, but a pyramid scheme and a multi-level marketing scheme are a little bit different. MLMs basically they put multiple people into the profit and the product itself. So you've got many layers of people in there. Everybody's getting a chunk of the profit, and you know that's why the markup on a lot of those things are extremely high because they have to pay several layers of multi levels. Everybody's making money off of getting somebody in, who gets somebody in, who gets somebody in. Hex is not like that at all. In fact, after the adoption amplifier, there is no levels at all. There is no referral fees whatsoever. Nothing like that. But just a pyramid scheme is essentially new people get in, they pay the new people, or they pay the old people, and when people stop coming in, then there's no money to pay anymore. So multi-level marketing is a little bit different, where there is a product. Those are actually legal. Pyramid schemes, not legal. Multi-level marketings, they are legal. You've got Amway, who's been around for years and years. Avon, I could go on and on. Herbology, or
just go to your local Facebook page and look up the you went to high school with, and you'll see plenty of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Ewok, do me a favor, because I'm going to need to get out of here in a moment. Go ahead and bring up Paul's Outback Garden Australia's comment, if you can see it.
This one?
Yeah, I don't want to guarantee anything to him here, but I think he asked a good question, and I totally understand where he's coming from here, because you do want to have an idea of what's possible. So he says, I'm new to this, just asking, could 5K invested in HEX by getting a free airdrop on Paul's chain and getting Paul's chain, blah, blah, blah. Can someone make a fair return in, say, 2 years? I mean, I would hesitate to put any kind of exact numbers on it, but basically telling you this: there are many people that the way that Paul's chain is designed, much like how HEX was designed and how Richard Hart designed it, and I don't say promised, but said that he believed it would 10,000x. Many people have thought the same thing about Paul's chain in a similar amount of time. So, I mean, I don't know anything about your sacrifice situation. It doesn't seem like maybe you had done that, Paul, but yeah. So, but basically $5,000, and I know you would agree, Walk, like the best thing to do right now, unless you already have it, hopefully you do have some, is to just have HEX. If you maybe DCA with that, again, not financial advice is what I personally would do, but DCA with that $5,000 into HEX. What that's going to then do is automatically give you a free copy of HEX on the Pulse chain. So your quote unquote PHEX, which will just become HEX. And then at that time, if you want to make sure that you get in on Pulse and or Pulse HEX, you can then sell off some of that HEX on the other side, as long as it's liquid, obviously, to go ahead and get into those as well. If you don't want to do that, you could just sit on some cash, which I would rather not do. I think the best strategy is just to buy HEX and then burn some of it whenever you have it on the Pulse chain, and then transfer it into Pulse chain or Pulse HEX. I think that's the smartest play. And then the last thing is just to not totally lose your ass, kind of like on day one of Pulse chain, and just buy it as the price just freaking skyrockets up and kind of let the dust settle a bit. So we've talked about that a little bit before, but I think that's probably the best way to go about it. And yeah, expectations, I mean, kind of do the math off of what I just said there, but keep in mind it is a long process, and there'll be some bumps in the road, obviously. But what do you say about that, Ewok?
Well, yeah, keep in mind, if $5,000 right now at 5 cents, what if it goes to 10 cents before the launch even happens? You've already made a fair return, which is double your money. Now, on the flip side of that, it could go back down to 2.5 cents before the launch. But remember, you're going to get double the coins on the other networks. So we don't know what'll happen. You could, make a fair return before it even launches, though. That is one way of looking at things. And I do agree with you. I still think HEX is the best play for once the Pulse chain launches. We know it's going to hold a lot of liquidity. We know this community is going to go over there and go crazy, and there's going to be a ton of movement. It's going to be heavily supported, and there's a lot of opportunity for you to take some of that and get into Pulse chain. Obviously, like you said, it doesn't look like you did any of the sacrifice. So I think staying in HEX is your best play. I do not think USDC is a good play. Your coins are double, but the USDC will not hold value on Pulse chain. You're lucky probably to get 10 cents on the dollar, I think. So just so you know,
and we've already seen that. We've seen that in the past. I mean, like with ETH proof of work, like USDC was useless. So yeah, I think you're right about that, Ewok.
Yep. Somebody back here asked why the price went up, and just so everybody knows, price goes up when more people buy than sell. That's the only reason that price goes up ever. It's just that's the only thing that makes price go up is more people buying than selling. So there's a couple other.
There could be some whale action. I mean, that's just the way it is. Somebody getting involved. But go ahead, Brian, and we're going to take off here.
Yeah, I believe Bitcoin isn't a pyramid because you're buying into a currency with decentralized network. Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, what we're realizing here is a lot of these things, including Bitcoin, have become really just, stores of value, and HEX is something that tries to do a better job of that than Bitcoin. So I would just say, go to the hex.com site, read everything you can about it. I see Brazil is helping you out a lot in the chat there. So, ultimately the decision is yours. Don't listen or do anything anybody else recommends you do. You just make the decision on your own. But we appreciate all of you guys watching. A lively chat tonight. It was a great time. Hit the like before you get out of here. We really do appreciate it. We will be back next Wednesday, same time, same channel, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So my name is Boi Crypto. You can find me on YouTube and Twitter there. Ewok, let them know they can find you as well.
Crypto Ewok on Twitter, Crypto Ewok 5555 on YouTube. Smash the like, subscribe to both channels if you get a chance. We appreciate it.
We very much do. So that will wrap it up for this week's edition of the Creed of Crypto podcast. We will catch you guys next week right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast.